Hello, everybody. We are back at it again. I think I only have two strips left, which is exciting. I finally decided on what we're going to apply this with, because there's only one option. So I finally realized there's only one option. So we're going to apply it with, basically looks like this. It's like sort of a light cyan, maybe? I don't know. I'm colorblind. Actually not the best at describing colors. These are the ones that I'm mostly colorblind with. I have it on good authority that it's like a greenish blue. And I have a bunch more of that, and that is what we're going to apply it with. So we have to spin a whole bunch more of that, which is fine. But yeah, I'm just going to take a moment to pre-draft this slightly, because I think it might go a little faster if I pre-draft it. Apologies that there's really nothing on the screen, but I don't know, at a certain point I can't like continually move my laptop around. It gets a little tiring. All right. I kind of had an urge to spin earlier today. I didn't do it. Did not do it because I don't know, spinning on stream is just so nice. I really it's honestly my favorite way to spin at this point. There's just something about it. It's like spinning with a group, you know. It's quite fun. And I don't want to. I don't know. I feel like if I spin by myself at the moment, I'm gonna get distracted pretty quickly and not get very far. So, okay. I do have to say I have not slept in a while, in a long while. So that might be a little odd today, and I apologize in advance for that. Hello, Ciaro. I finally fixed the mod thing. I figured it out. It's nice to see you. We're just now starting on the wool warm-ups. So great. I'm a little bit worried that I might have some trouble spinning today. We'll see. Historically, I am not great at these sort of fine motor control type jobs when I am this sleep deprived, but I feel like doing it. So we're gonna try. I mean, like, what's the worst I can do? It's just yarn. That's good. You don't really want to be a mod. Happy to help out. Yeah, I do not want to just like put that response apropos of nothing for sure. I do appreciate you helping out during the whole incident. That was very kind of you. But I don't really want mods either, to be honest. Like, if I end up with mods, it's just because I can't avoid it. But like the thing about having mods is that I have to also work with somebody else's schedule, and honestly, it's already hard enough working with my schedule. So I'd much rather keep this to just my schedule. That'd be a lot easier for me. But yeah, I think it's much better that I finally figured that one out. Buried pretty deep in the settings for some reason. I don't know. I guess you're mostly supposed to do it during the stream, but it's like, why would you want to interrupt the stream for that? But either way, this is the second to last wool strip of this. That's pretty exciting. I'm definitely excited for this particular spin to be over. Like, it's dragging on a little bit, but also I really want to know what it's going to look like. I'm really curious. So hopefully nice. Fingers crossed anyway. Now I have a bit of a cotton revelation is the wrong word, but twist maybe. I was looking at, like, I washed all my blankets and I pulled out a different cotton summer blanket, the very first one I ever made. And I was looking at it and I realized that the worsted weight cotton that I used there is so much thinner than the cotton we've been spinning. And like, to be fair, I put effort into learning how to spin cotton that thick. It was not easy. But I'm realizing now I could probably get away with a fairly thin singles and three-ply it, and it would be like the same weight. So I kind of learned all that for like no reason. I don't know why I thought it was supposed to be bulky weight. I guess my flax blanket is bulky weight, but that was pretty unintentional. It's just how it ended up. But that's the one that I have on my bed the most often. So I guess I could stick on. So basically, we might end up spinning the cotton a fair amount thinner. We'll see. We'll see. Insight? Yeah, that's the right word. A cotton insight. Like, I think there's pros and cons to it. I think I could spin either pretty easily. So it doesn't matter from that perspective. I already put the time in. I think the pros of spinning it thinner are that I would get the spinning done a hell of a lot faster. And it would more closely resemble my earliest cotton blankets. And it would be cooler, like temperature-wise. It would be cooler if it was thinner. The pros to doing a thick spun cotton summer blanket are, I think it would be more durable. I think it would be more cozy and softer and nicer. But then the cons of that are way more yarn, way more spinning, and way more carding of ponies. So it's going to take longer if I do the bulky weight, 100%. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I think either this stream or the next stream, we're going to try spinning a yarn that thin, which is not very thin, to be fair. It's average. But we're going to try spinning some cotton like that and see how it turns out. I haven't decided if we're going to do it today or not. It sort of depends on how I'm feeling once I finish. Warm up. But yeah, I don't know. And like the other thing is the very first yarn, the very first cotton yarn that I was experimenting with on stream like this was probably the same weight as that worsted cotton blanket. It was the same weight of yarn, and I don't like it as much. Like, I've knit quite a few washcloths now, which is really fun, and I really like the thicker stuff. It's really soft. It's really nice. So I'm leaning more towards that, but then it's like, oh, I could take a shortcut and do so much less work. So we'll have to see. I guess I could maybe do both if I get like lucky. I could maybe do both, but you know, which one to do first, I guess, is the question. And the other thing is, if I do the worsted, I might have enough left over to make a pair of shorts. I really want to spin myself a pair of shorts. It has the qualities, a pair of wheelchair shorts that I sorely need. But you know, I could also just like order more of it. It was not that expensive. It's cheap. So I don't know. I'm indecisive as always. There's a lot of slums in this particular section. I think it's Cormo. I added in a bit of Cormo. I didn't comb it or anything, which I guess it needed. It's very sluggy, as you can maybe C. I don't know. Maybe you could see it. But I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. I think it's fine. I like a little bit of slubbiness in yarn. It adds some good texture. I'm also on the fence about when to finish off this yarn. Because I could take a quick break from cotton spinning and just probably finish it off in 1 or 2 streams, I bet. I just don't know if I want to do that. But I really need to free up this bobbin. So let's see. I've been thinking about how I want to do the blanket. Because I know I want it to be 3-ply, but as much as I like chain plying it, I do find that it doesn't wear as well. I don't know. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions on chain ply versus traditional 3-ply, and I've found myself on either end of the camp at one time or another. But the more I chain ply things, the more I'm like, I don't think this is the best way to do it in terms of durability. I don't think it is, because those little, the chain links, the part where it overlaps and has sort of a little knot, they seem to be a lot weaker, because I always get breaks there when I chain ply something that gets heavy wear. That's where the breaks are. And I really don't want that to happen in my blanket. Of course I can fix it. I fix blankets all the time, but I don't want to have to do that. Especially early on. So I'm kind of feeling like I'm not going to chain ply. I also only have 3 bobbins. So that means really my only option that avoids winding is to spin 1 bobbin totally full and 1 bobbin just half, and then make a ply bracelet out of the full bobbin. It's still winding, but I find ply bracelet winding to be less terrible on my wrist. So I don't know how that'll work out. I might end up trying that first, and then if it's a huge pain in the ass, I'll just use that for the mortar or something, and do the rest chain ply, because it is easier. I always meant to get another bobbin for this wheel, and I've just never done it, and I keep thinking, well, at this point, it's too late. Why should I get another bobbin? That's stupid. But then, this happens. You think a blanket is under less stress than a bag, right? I mean, it sort of depends. It really depends. What other blankets do you have on your bed? And is there, for example, a cat clawing it? Which will be the case in my situation. Is there going to be a person who is sort of grabbing it really hard and possibly with my fingernails? Yes, that's what I do with my blankets. So maybe other people don't wear their blankets that much, but my blankets get a lot of wear. Mostly due to my cat. So, and she's obsessed with all the blankets I've made, but especially the hand-spun plant fiber ones. She loves those. So she's probably going to be laying on this thing the minute it's out. So I don't know. And also, a big blanket, when you wash it, it is under an awful lot of stress in the washer when you're pulling it out. That's my 2 cents anyway. I feel like it really depends on the person and the usage for the blanket. A couch blanket is going to get different wear than a bed blanket, right? Oh, hi, Chuck. It's right where my spinning wheel is, so I have to stop spinning until she moves. Okay. Very politely moved. Everything always depends. So frustrating, but true. Yeah, for real. I wish that there were hard and fast rules with spinning. in the way that there are in some other disciplines. But I feel like the more disciplines I learn, the more it really just seems to depend on all of them. Like cooking and baking, it depends, you know? It all depends on something. I think that's sort of just the human condition. We all have such odd preferences. So what are you working on today? Putting a new warp on your loom. Ooh, good luck. I don't know if you need it, but I always need it, so good luck. That sounds fun though. I love warping. Like, wish it was physically easier, because gosh, it's quite hard. But it's like a fun puzzle, except when it's not. I do love warping. You've been weaving a bunch of colorful cloth pieces to sew into curtains. Oh, that sounds really nice. Hand woven curtains is like kind of the dream. I'm not. Especially colorful ones. I feel like I almost never see colorful curtains anymore. Everyone's sort of got like black, white, or beige. The colorful ones sounds like it'd be really nice. I currently have a blanket that is about 90% warped on my loom, on my floor loom, but I have no confidence that I can actually leave it, to be honest. That's a bit beyond me now, just like physically speaking. And so I have not done anything with it in a very long time, except for a couple of fiber arts friends came over and helped me finish warping it and everything. But our schedules don't line up, so I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. I know I'm not keeping the room after I finish this project. I'll give it to those friends. To reclaim about 20 square feet of my apartment, my very small apartment. It's really frustrating to think about giving it away because I put so much effort into acquiring that thing. And by the time I actually got it and got it up and running, I was able to really use it. So I barely used it at all. And it's, I don't know, it's sort of representative of like everything in that way. It's very frustrating. But having it sit in my living room, taking up space, does not make me feel better. So I just sort of need to get on with it, I think. I don't know. One of those things where I just don't know what the answer is. It's hard on your back, but not difficult like winding on. Oh, yeah, winding on is not the fun part. Is it a floor loom? Yes, it is a 4-shaft floor loom. I think it's Harrisville Designs, if I remember the name correctly, something like that. It's very beautiful, and I really love it. if I had actually had a chance to really work with it. Like I did a couple of little, I did some towels on it, and I did a scarf, and then I worked this blanket, and that's all I've done with it, and I've had it for like 2 years now. But it's been a hard 2 years. I don't know. My other crafts are all a bit more accessible to me. They're a lot more accessible to me. I just haven't done it. But the blanket is actually a like 6 or 7 year old commission from my uncle. Back when I thought I would be able to do such things. And now I'm kind of like, it's been 7 years. He paid me $200 for the yarn, and I did buy yarn with it, and get a loom that could make the blanket and all that. But he commissioned I think it's a king size blanket, and there was no way in hell. Like, he's gonna get an Afghan, and I'm gonna tell him, don't worry about the money. This is to relieve me of my guilt. Goodbye. That's my plan when I give it to him. If I ever finish the fucking thing. That would be stressing you out a lot. It is stressing me out a lot. That would be stressing you out a lot. It is stressing me out a lot. The only reason that it's not like the main stressor in my life is that my life is very messed up and I have a lot of terrible stressors. But it was the main stressor in my life for a while. Like, it was just hanging over me constantly. I'm really annoyed at myself that I took that commission, because this always happens with commissions for me. They always hang over my head like this, and I hate it. And it absolutely ruins crafting for me. But then people ask, and for some reason I agree to it. I never know why. Like, I have no idea why the hell I agreed to make it. It's so stupid of me. But I think I just turn my brain off when I'm talking to people, unfortunately, and so this sort of thing happens a lot. It's annoying. But I'm getting a little better at it. At just like outright saying no to most things, because I don't want to do most things. I want to go home and spin. You don't do commissions, you know you can't deal. Yeah, if I was smarter, that would be me. Unfortunately, I do commissions. I've done like a lot of them. Well, okay, a lot. So subjective. I've done maybe like 10 to 20, something around that. And every single one of them has been exactly like this, although they mostly haven't taken me this long. Most of them I got out fast enough, but there's just something about commissions that really saps the joy out of it for me. Like, it just turns it into stress, and all I can think about is like making it technically perfect, and I just hate that so much. It's really not for me. Just getting the last little wispy bits. So we have like one strip left of this, and that's it, which is very cool. So I guess we'll be able to get that going on the next stream. And on that stream, we are going to finally figure out once and for all how much fiber to load onto the cotton cards. I saved it for last because I feel like I needed to figure out the other things before it would be clear whether it was a too much fiber problem or not enough fiber problem or something unrelated. And I stand by that decision. I think I was right on that. It's been a lot harder than I thought it would be, but a lot more rewarding too. Hey, Zertra. We won't stay long today, but you'll say hi. It's nice to see you. And we just finished up the wool, so we're doing cotton today. We are going to figure out if it actually matters, what way we spin it. And I foresee myself messing this up multiple times. Just to get that out of the way, I am definitely going to spin it the wrong way constantly. I know it, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. All right. This feels like the easy part now, making the poonies. Which is funny because spinning it isn't really hard either, but it does require constant focus. Hopefully that will not stay the case, but yeah, it requires constant focus. And this really doesn't. It requires very little focus at all, just at certain points. I should turn this. There we go. Curious to see this one? Yeah, me too. I should have done this a while ago because I don't think this really depends on much. I think that if it actually matters, it's going to be really obvious. And if I can't tell the difference, that means it doesn't matter. That's my take on whatever the result is. So I think I'm going to do two, probably like 2 yarns, probably 4 each, 4 poonies each, because maybe 3, because I'm very tired today. I have work tomorrow. So yeah, I can't be doing this all night, but yeah, we're going to do 2 different ones. We're going to spin the first one the way that I usually spin wool. And then we're going to spin the second one the way that I have been spinning bast fibers and cellulose fibers this entire time. I'm really curious. I think I might be a little bit annoyed if it turns out that it doesn't matter, because it's been kind of a pain in the ass having to spin it this way. I forget constantly. And it untwists while I'm knitting with it, which is very annoying. And also, it kind of makes me wonder, like, if this does not need to be spun a particular way, is that also true for linen? I don't know. It's possible that it matters for one and not the other. If I remember correctly, what I've been told is that linen likes to go the other way because that's the direction that the fibers twist. I've heard that or something similar to that from multiple people and books at this point. But the thing is, as far as I can tell, none of that is like, nobody's saying I tried it both ways and this is the one that works. It's all just like, this is the one that works. No, I didn't try it both ways. And I've been parroting that too, so I'm certainly not immune. But I really want to know. I'm very curious. That reminds you, you never tried chain plying, but you watched a demo on a spindle that involves switching constantly from clockwise to counterclockwise. So now it scares you. You can't do that. That sounds like ply on the fly, right? But you don't have to ply on the fly when you're chain plying. You can just chain ply separately. Like, and I'd recommend that for your first chain plying, because like ply on the fly isn't too difficult, but if you're already not sure of one of the steps, it is going to be difficult. I think you can do it. I believe in you. Done that on a spindle, but it's not worth it, IMO. Just make a ball and chain ply from that. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I mean, I understand the appeal of ply on the fly because you get your finished yarn, like not finished, but you get your yarn then and there as you spin. But I don't care about that so much, which means it has no real draw for me. Like, I like the process that I do. I'm happy with it. I don't want to change it so much. And I think that's true for people who ply on the fly. That's how they like to do it, so that's why they do it. But you sure as hell don't have to. You can do either one. You can't do witchcraft yet? Yeah, me neither. You're curious too. You know you keep saying you're going to spin cotton too, but you are eventually. You have a big bag of it. Nice. I mean, it'll wait for you, you know? But I will say, cotton spinning in the summer, very fun. Very good. It's like spinning linen in the summer. Because when you wet spin linen, you will get kind of wet too, like soaked in water, or at least I do. And I don't know how the hell you wouldn't. And it's kind of like running through the sprinklers. Definitely cools you off. Cotton at least doesn't get warm in your hands. You want to try chain plying your current singles, though. It's pretty thin. You should. A too thin singles is like the perfect reason to try chain plying. Perfect excuse. When you were first learning to spin, you would do chain plying on your singles or on your spindle because your singles were too thick for the nano. Yeah, I know all about that. I don't think I ever ply on my nano. Like I tried it a couple times and it was terrible. And I haven't tried it since, so I just use it to spin thin yarn, and it can't do thicker yarn. That's just what I've heard. Like it's been my experience, but it's also what I've heard. Just grab this. There we go. From like everybody who uses an EEW, they don't have the power. It seems like, which is a little unfortunate. Like the take up just doesn't do it, and then also the engine or the motor, whatever it is kind of too weak to deal with such a thick yarn. It's pretty frustrating, I feel like. Because I think that's a limitation that should be clearly noted when you're buying the thing. I wouldn't have bought it if I'd known that. Like I wanted a multi-purpose tool, you know. I don't know. That said, I would have bought a e-spinner, just not that one. And I still think I am going to buy a different e-spinner someday. Because I definitely can't treadle forever, but you know, why not keep doing it as long as I can? Certainly intend to do. You have the Nano 2.0. It has better take-up system, but you really can't go over worsted weight. That's what I have too. I'm pretty sure it's either the Nano 1.0 or the Nano 2.0, but I'm like 90% sure it's the 2.0. It's all you could afford. Same. That is why I bought it too. It's very cheap. I wonder how expensive it is now. For me, it was I think $100. I got it on sale. I think it was supposed to be $120. I do think that $100 is a decent deal for it. It's just I don't use it that much because of the limitations. And so I would prefer a more all-purpose tool. Like I like specialty tools, but if it's going to replace my spinning wheel, it needs to be all-purpose. I already have a bunch of spindles that can spin really thin. But there are things I really like about it. Like it came with, I think, 6 or 7 bobbins. It came with a lot of bobbins. And I appreciate that. Never have too many bobbins. Ugh, I'm getting so much cotton in my drink. So much. I really should have chosen a covered container. Oh well. You think you paid about $150? I don't know if I would have paid that much. I guess I probably would have. That's steep though. Although I paid $100 pre-COVID when money was worth a little more. So I don't know. It's probably actually about the same if you bought it post-COVID. You're looking forward to the upgrade this summer. You use it so much that the orifice has grooves in it. Oh, that's cool. That's actually awesome. What do you know what you're gonna
upgrade to yet, because I really want to upgrade too. Like, I need to save up for it, but it's on my list of things I need to get. But like, the problem is, it seems like this is probably an outdated opinion, but it seems like there is not really a middle ground between the $1,000 nice ones and the $100 to $200 crap ones. So I don't know. You think it's about to get more expensive? I'm sure. Isn't everything? Plus, I think it's Canadian, right? So that doesn't help my situation anyway. I don't know where you are, but I'm in the U.S., so we've got the whole situation going on. That whole thing. You don't know what you're gonna get yet? Fair enough. Yeah, I definitely need to do a lot of research. Ideally, I'd really love to just try them out, but I don't. E-spinners aren't really popular where I live. And so, like, there are a couple of spinning guilds, but I'd be really shocked if any of them had a decent selection of e-spinners. And I don't know anyone else who uses e-spinners that aren't the EEW Nano because they're so expensive. I'd love to get a used one for really cheap. That'd be nice. Like a used $1,000 one for cheaper. That'd be nice. But I don't think that's happening. It's pretty hard to find like specific wheels when you're looking for them. At least that's been my experience. Oh, it's from the US but made in China. Okay. I must be misremembering. I mean, that doesn't help. Like, that also doesn't help. But good to know. I guess, like, if the designer is US based, then potentially, because like it's mostly 3D printed, and the rest of it is stuff that you could easily get at like a Radio Shack or something, if those still exist. So I feel like that could easily be made in the US, which would be nice for me personally. Well, it wouldn't actually. I'm not going to buy another EEW. I like that they are cheap enough that people can try them out, like I did and like you did. Like, I think that's awesome. Because if the only option was the $1,000 ones, that would really suck. Like, you wouldn't even be able to figure out if you like spinning without a treadle, or like spinning on something other than a drop spindle without dropping $1,000. That would just suck. So I'm quite grateful, as much as I've sort of slagged off on these things. I'm quite grateful that they're being made and they're fairly cheap, comparatively anyway. They're fairly cheap, but it doesn't mean I want another one. It's not 3D printed. It's injection molded. Oh, okay. Wow. I guess I am not as good at recognizing 3D printed stuff as I thought. It looks so 3D printed to me, so I just assumed. But I also don't really know much about 3D printing, so. But like, you could 3D print it, right? It looks 3D printable, if nothing else. Like, the bobbins you could totally 3D print, and I know people do. I feel like you could print the body of the wheel too, but I say that as somebody who's never 3D printed anything, so take that with a grain of salt. I think I'm overfilling my carders, but I'm not going to let that stop me. Go on. You think the prototypes are, but that raises the price? That's a good point. I mean, I guess the price is going to go up either way, because either tariffs or more expensive manufacturing method. Not really a great answer there. Like, pretty much everything going on. But I don't want to think about politics right now, so I'm gonna try not to veer that way. Just way too depressing for a happy little spin. Okay, we've made 5 poonies so far. I'm gonna make 8, and I don't know. We'll see. Like it's gonna be a really tiny scheme. They're both gonna be really tiny. They don't love. I want them to be at least big enough for a washcloth, ideally, because I need to turn it into something and see how it behaves. Although I do think the main decider as to whether or not I care about which way it needs to be spun is just like, do I actually feel or notice a difference? And if I don't, then it doesn't matter. And I would just be absolutely shocked if there's a difference in only the finished product, but not the yarn. Like, that's not usually how yarn works, so I don't think it is going to go that way. But that said, I still want to make something with it. I'm curious, because I've noticed that now that I'm actually adding adequate twist to my cotton yarn, I'm not having the untwisting problem anywhere near so bad with knitting. I think that's mostly just an issue when you really woefully underplied things, like I've done with the flax and Southdown yarn. It's so underplied and underspun too, and I think that's why it was like untwisting as I knit. But I'm really curious if I'll notice more twist being added as I knit on the one that's spun the opposite way. I'm very curious indeed, because I think that would be helpful if it was, but if it wasn't, that also wouldn't be a problem. You want the Ashford E-spinner, but it's so expensive. Yeah, that's one of the ones that I've seen in, like, you know, beautiful studios, and the person has like an automatic like bobbin winder and a really nice like little loom. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so poor. No, I can't do any of that. I mean, I have a loom, but it was $200, and I had to drive 6 hours to get it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so broke. Getting broker. That's the problem. Something I think most of us can relate to at the moment. Your loom is a rigid heddle loom from 2009. Nice. I do love rigid heddles. I mean, like, I got a floor loom because I found my rigid heddle to be limiting in terms of what I could make. But they're so simple. Like, they're so intuitive. They're so clean in their design. I really love them. I still have a rigid heddle like lap loom. I don't remember what that's called, but you can just hold it on your lap, and that's usually how I wove on it. I still have it. I promised to give it to a friend, but said friend has to come collect it from me, and I don't think that's happening because I offered it to him like 5 years ago now. I hadn't considered that I might be able to still weave on that. I'd have to give it a try. I might still be able to weave on my floor loom too. It's not totally warped yet, so mostly warped. It's in that fun, mostly warped stage where it's not warped and you can't do anything with it except finish warping it, which I don't want to do. It's probably pretty relatable. You have like a baby loom? Nice. Baby looms are great. I have a couple baby looms and some pin looms too. All looms are good looms. Let's be real. Just wish it was a little. Oh, your bobbin winder for you got at a thrift shop. It's clearly from the 80s. You just wish it was a little wider. That's cool though. I didn't even know they made those back then. In retrospect, obviously, but that's awesome. A proper one just wouldn't fit in your apartment, but you considered a setup with warp weights from your mezzanine bed. Ooh, that's cool. Setting them up in small apartments is really hard. I get you. I struggled mightily warping my rigid huddle in my tiny ass apartment, and it was a much bigger apartment than this one. Would love to be able to use a warp weighted loom. Same. I so desperately want one, but that's not happening. I can't hold my arms like that for more than like a couple of seconds, honestly. I can't hold them straight out like that. Unsupported. Just finished a linen project on your rigid huddle, and it was kind of awful. Oh, yeah. The lack of stretch, like if the work was linen, I know exactly what you mean. The lack of stretch is brutal. But on a warp-weighted loom, it seems like that would be ideal. Or at least it wouldn't matter. Like it wouldn't come into play. I really, really want a warp-weighted loom. But it's probably not in the cards for me, sadly. How many boonies do I have? We have 7. Okay. See, I'm sitting here thinking like I could do a couple more. 5 each or 6 each. We'll see. I thought my arms and my hands would be really messed up by now, but they're actually like not. So I might I shouldn't keep going until they are messed up. That's not the correct way to be doing stuff. But I could though. So we'll see. We'll see. I do kind of want to know what my threshold at this moment is for how many boonies I can make, because I think that's going to be important info when we're doing the wood project. I don't know. I kept thinking that a warp-weighted loom would be best for linen. It wouldn't be complaining that the ratchet and the pawls needed like 100 more teeth. Yeah. That was also my thought when I was trying to weave with linen on my rigid huddle. I do kind of wonder, like, there's got to be a way to make it work on the rigid huddle, but I never figured out what it was. I think, like, it wouldn't be pure linen, but I noticed that my wool linen blend actually has a lot of stretch to it. And I mean, I chose a stretchy wool, I chose South Down, but either way, I feel like one could use that for the warp. It would have enough stretch to work, but it would certainly not be 100% linen. That one is a 50-50 blend, so I'm definitely overfilling these cards, I think. But it's all data for later. No problem. Finding the threshold is probably not a good idea with work tomorrow. That's true. That is true. I guess I'll just do 8. It's a good point. And it's a Wednesday, so there's like 2 more days left in the week, and I'm already not doing so hot. So yeah, fair point. I'll just finish this one, which will bring us up to 8. And we can do 4 each, and I think that should be enough for a washcloth, especially because I'm going to spin these thinner. And I'm going to spin them thinner just to see what it's like, how they handle, and if it's any easier. I'm going to try to meet the thickness once plied of the cotton that my cotton summer blanket is made of, the mill-spun one. It's actually just made of dishcloth cotton, really cheap, crappy stuff, but it works great in a summer blanket, so no complaints there. But it isn't soft, and I want a soft blanket. Hence all the effort I'm putting in here. It's Tuesday. Yeah, but tomorrow's Wednesday. Probably worded that wrong. that is true. You've been considering solutions. You have trouble describing things like that. It's like a diagram in your head. Yeah, that's fair. I feel like it's difficult for me to put things into words that way as well, and in most ways. Like when I'm talking on stream, this is like pure stream of consciousness. Very little thought goes into it because I don't have the brain capacity. Same when I'm at work with my customer service mask on. Yeah, there's no brain there. It's all just talking. Just talking for the hell of it. Which, like, it actually works pretty well for me for customer service, but I'm pretty sure I annoy the absolute fuck out of my coworkers. I feel kind of bad. But, you know, it is what it is. It's okay. I like my coworkers, but, like, they're not my friends, you know? As long as I'm civil to them, who cares? If I'm a little weird, I'm a little annoying. Just pre-drafting this out so that I can get my leader going. It kind of surprises me how much fiber is packed into these things. Like, you really, I mean, I know that the yardage of everything I've spun has been minuscule, but nonetheless, they do stretch farther than you'd think. Like, if this was wool, no way. It would not stretch anywhere near as far, I think. Okay, this first one, we're going to spin as if it were wool, which would be clockwise spinning and counterclockwise flying. So that's how we're going to try and do this one. I'm sure I will fuck it up repeatedly because I've already gotten used to spinning it the other way. Now the problem with this test is that no matter what the result is, I am going to have an incredibly strong urge to do the test again on linen. Because, you know, you hear it more about linen than cotton, I feel like, or at least I have. And I feel like they could both be untrue, they could both be true, or just one of them could be true. Or it could sort of just be inconclusive. Like, I don't really think it matters. Yes, but I don't want to test new fibers right now. I'm locked into cotton. Clockwise, yeah. I have to think about that so hard every time. I'm blaming it on the dyslexia, but truly I don't know what it is. Could be anything. What is going on here? I always forget that I can look at the video, or at the stream rather, to see what's going on with my bobbin, and I never do that. It's like, that would be so much easier if I did. Oh well. You kind of get confused a bit, so you're used to thinking of S and Z. Oh, you're so used to thinking of S and Z. Yeah, I have a hard time with both of them. I like S and Z only makes sense to me in a finished yarn. My eyesight isn't really good enough to tell. My eyesight isn't good enough to tell on the singles. So, like, if I'm looking at a yarn, I can tell it's S or Z, but then actually translating that to whether it was spun clockwise or counterclockwise, I always get lost there. And also, telling clockwise from counterclockwise, not easy either for me. That one's got to be dyslexia, I think. Part of it is just like, my brain doesn't like thinking about these sorts of things. And it doesn't make it easy on me. My preliminary thoughts is that this is exactly the same. literally no difference whatsoever. But I don't think I can conclusively say anything until we apply it, because I don't know where, like, no one's ever specific about what happens if you spin it the wrong way. Like, it's just like you're supposed to spin it this way, the end. So I don't know where the error would be introduced in this process, so that's why I think I have to fully finish it, and then we'll see. Do the opposite. You have to check repeatedly to translate to S and Z. Oh, right, the Nano has the S and the Z on it. But that confuses me too, because I'm like, well, is it going to go clockwise or counterclockwise? Like, I guess I probably just look at which way the wheel is literally spinning when that occurs. But unless I'm looking at it, twist a bit and see if it twists or untwists. Yeah, I do that too. Like, if I don't remember what way it's supposed to go, that is also how I do it, because I don't even know what else you could do. That's what I've always done. I'm trying to get this to a thinner consistency. Oh, I never showed you guys the difference. I meant to do that. Hang on. The difference between the cotton that I have been spinning and the mill-spun cotton that my summer blanket is made of. They're a very different weight. I think the mill-spun might be 4-ply. Actually, let me just pull it apart real quick so I can see. Yeah, it's 4-ply. Okay, so it's a 4-ply, which I'm sure is home run. No way. And of course, I found a thin spot in my yarn. Okay, let's try and get a thicker one. All right. And I think this thicker section here, where my finger is more indicative of what it has been. So as you can see, pretty different. Like, not the biggest, most obvious difference in the world. But I've definitely been spinning a bulky, and that is worsted weight cotton. That's mill spun. So yeah, and I'm still on the fence about which one we're gonna do. There really are a lot of pros and cons. Most likely, what will happen is I'll do both, and it'll be uneven, and I'll be annoyed. Knowing me, that's what I assume will happen. But you know, nonetheless, sometimes turn the speed way down so you can see. Now that's a good idea. I don't think I have ever tried turning the speed down. Yeah, it's quite the difference. I don't know why I thought I was spinning the same thing that my blanket is made of, but in my defense, I did have a much more, like, an actually super bulky / bulky at some parts summer blanket on my bed that was not this, from linen, and I only just put the cotton blanket on my bed today after not using it for a week ago. Because I have a lot of summer blankets, and that one is. I really should add more to it, actually. The problem with that one is that it's knit, and then I did a crochet border around it. And if I added on another knit panel, I would be kind of annoyed. But if I did it all crocheted, that would also annoy me. So I haven't done anything with it yet. I mean, it still functions as a blanket. It's a good blanket. It's just a little bit too short for me. It's not fully covering my legs. It was the very first one I made, so I feel like I can have a little bit of leeway there. I didn't really know how much it was going to stretch. I thought it was going to stretch a little more than it did, to be honest. it'll work even if it's uneven. That is very true. It will. But I think like the thing is it's always uneven. I don't know how to get a whole bunch of skeins to all be the same weight. I've been spinning like I think about 10 years now, and I've never gotten that for a single project, not even once. And so I'm always striving to do it because I feel like if I stop trying, then I'll really never figure it out. If I try each time, maybe eventually I will. I don't know if that's flawed logic or not, but that's what I do. Worsted weight is always thinner than you think. Same here. I mean, fundamentally, I can't really picture the yarn weights unless they're in front of me. And then I can be like, oh yeah, that's worsted. Oh yeah, that's obviously fingering. But if it's not in front of me, good luck to me. So I don't do it. I'm guessing that the aphantasia really does not help me here. Like aphantasia being the inability to picture things in your head. I feel like if I could picture it in my head, it would be easier, but I can't. The inside of my head is just sort of like pitch black. At least that's what. But yeah, I always feel like I'm spinning worsted weight, and then I look at it and I'm like, that is not worsted. That is super. Again, no. Well, that was lucky. It broke off because I wasn't paying attention, and but it was too thick to actually go through the orifice, so I don't have to fish it back out. That's always nice. Preferred. You're not. Oh, worsted weight. No, I already read that. You're not great at it either. You get closer if you cut off a bit and keep it nearby to compare. You've seen people tie the sample piece to their wheels. I've seen that too. My problem is that, like, I've tried it too. But my problem is that I don't remember to actually compare it, or to look at it, or that it exists. Like when I sit down to spin, a large part of my brain ceases to function. And that's always been the case. So my spinning is probably not as good as it could be if I didn't do that every single time. But like traditionally, by traditionally I mean just me. Traditionally, I would be, on some substances. That's how I usually like to spin. I don't have any confidence whatsoever in my ability to be on substances and spin. Even alcohol is really iffy. And also, I try not to drink too much, so that's like the least iffy one for me. So due to that, I am not consuming substances. But that doesn't mean my brain is working, to put it mildly. Streaming is almost a substance of its own. It's so weird. Like, it is such a different way of existing for a brief period of time that it is almost like being on a substance. At least that's how I feel. I'm sure not everyone feels that way. You think the yarn might have to come off my front hook? Oh, it might have. Oh, it did, yeah. Huh. That's happened 3 times now. And that doesn't usually happen when I'm spinning cotton. So I wonder if that's related to the direction that I'm spinning it, or if I'm just spinning weird today. We'll have to keep an eye on that when we spin the normal way. You'll notice I'm not, at no point am I actually saying the direction, because I don't think I'm going to say the right one if I try. I might, Well, I guess this will entirely depend on the results of this test, but I might just start referring to them as wool-wise and plant-wise, because that sounds easier to remember. I remember which way I spin wool. I know that. It happened when my yarn broke this time, but you're not sure about that either. Nor am I. It might have. But I think the other times it's happened, those ones I just looked over and it was off. And I don't think it was going to break. I am also breaking yarn pretty often. But I think I should have spun the other one first to give a decent control of just how I'm spinning today. Because again, I haven't slept in like 36 hours. So this is not me at my best. So if I'm making some weird ass mistakes, that wouldn't shock me. Really wouldn't at all. Wool-wise and bast-wise. I like that too. See, but then I will have to actually test. Does bast care? We could just do wool-wise and sam-wise. That would be easy to remember. It wouldn't make a single lick of sense, but it would be easy to remember. I really like that, actually. I don't know if you are a Lord of the Rings fan or not. I am a long-standing Lord of the Rings fan. And I have many headcanons about Samwise bringing wool all the way to Mordor and spinning it the entire way. I think he did, and Tolkien forgot to put that in. He built it. But he totally was spinning the entire time. You don't know either? Yeah. Such an enigma. I have to find out. I guess I could test this on one of my supported spindles for the flax. Like, that would be less of a hassle, because I really don't want to take up one of my bobbins with a test at the moment. I'm already doing that. But I could totally take up one of my spindles. That would be fine. So maybe I will do that. And I mean, I have to imagine whatever issues that would happen on a spindle would also happen on the wheel, and vice versa when it comes to the spin direction for bast fibers, right? I assume. So that should be an adequate test. Fantasy books definitely don't have enough fiber stuff in them. Yeah, so true. I'm glad we're all in agreement on that. I think that should be front and center in all fantasy books. And I'm not just saying that because spinning is my #1 special interest in my whole life. I'm saying it because it's objectively true. Don't be doing that. I don't know if that's my wheel agreeing or not, but I don't want to hear it. Let me just change the other direction. It would just make sense. He's a gardener. Surely he has he has a fiber hustle for when it's not gardening season. Yeah, agreed. Like, what exactly is he doing during the off season of gardening? And also, I mean, I think it's more convincing because at no point does Tolkien ever talk about fiber except the one instance when he talks about fiber in The Lord of the Rings is right at the end when they're leaving Lothlorien, and Sam asks the elves how they're making their rope, and the elves are like, "Damn, we wish you asked us sooner because we fucking love rope and it's super cool and we would have showed you everything." And Sam gets really sad. So I'm like, obviously he's a spinner. He's so clearly a spinner. He's gotta be. It's the only thing that makes sense with that whole thing. Like, who else has a fascination with rope? Spinners. I don't know anyone else who gives a single shit about rope other than spinners. You remember that? Yeah. That's. I kind of want to reread Lord of the Rings, but I'm holding off. I reread it like 6 or 7 times in a row for several years in a row. And I need a break. And also the whole like walking adventure thing kind of stings because I can't really walk. I need a little time on that one. I'm glad we're all in agreement. There's a little talk about the cloaks, but not enough. Yeah, I don't remember if they really get into like textile stuff with that. I feel like they don't. But also, I do wonder if he ever talks about it in the history of Middle Earth, or maybe in the Somme. I'd be shocked if it's in the Somme. But the history of Middle Earth is so fucking long that if it is in there, I would never find it. I've never finished it, and I don't ever retain anything from it. So, yeah, I wouldn't know. I've been wanting to write a fic where Sam, is bringing yarn to Mordor. I've been wanting to write that for several years now. I just haven't. The Lord of the Rings fic is really hard. He's got such a specific voice, Tolkien has such a specific voice, but like if you don't have to match it, but you do have to complement it. Because if the voice is off, then the whole tone is just very different. Or at least that is something I've noticed in reading Lord of the Rings fic. It kind of ruins it for me. If it's written in like a modern English writing sort of way, I cannot read it. Like, look, there's a specific vibe that we're supposed to be following. Haven't read that at all. You read the Silmarillion once and don't remember it at all. That is the Silmarillion mood, yeah. It pisses me off. I hate the Silmarillion. I've read it multiple times. The first time I didn't take notes and I was incredibly confused and I was like, I don't understand what's going on. None of this makes sense. I don't remember any of it. I'm so confused. And the second time I did take notes and I was like, this is going to help me understand it. Wrong. It made it worse because like Tolkien, he'll say something in one chapter and then the next chapter he's like, actually, it was totally different. And I will not explain why it was different, but here's how it actually was. And then the chapter after that, he'll be like, none of that was true. And it's like, fuck you. I can't deal with this. It's like a maze, I feel like. A maze with no end. And it's an interesting maze, but it's very frustrating as well. That's how I feel anyway. Read the Silmarillion when it was 12, but it's too far from you now. Gosh, I cannot imagine even being able to parse it at 12. I'm not going to lie. You have plans to include lots of details about clothing and dyes in fantasy you'll probably write someday. Nice. I will be reading. I was big into The Witcher for a little while, and I wrote multiple fics where they all spun. I was like, I don't give a shit about this fighting monsters thing, and I don't really care about romance. What I care about is the spindle. And I stand by that. I have a really hard time with original fiction, but I've written some fanfic in the past, just not in a while. I get into moods where I write it, and then I lose that mood for several years, and then I'm back in the mood. I have enough hobbies that I don't really feel the need to force it, so I don't. I just do other things in the time. Just fine. Definitely didn't notice the contradictions. You think because you don't remember things. Yeah, I only noticed them once I started taking notes, because I'd be like, Chapter 1, this is the history of how Middle Earth was made. Chapter 2, why is all of that not true anymore? And it's a different thing. So, yeah. My memory is like almost non-existent. Like my short-term memory and my long-term memory. I'm just living in the moment, which is not the way to read the Silmarillion, it turns out. But that's okay. I'm not, like, I think The Lord of the Rings is my favorite anyway. Oh, that was 4. Sweet. So that was 4 cotton poonies spun wool-wise. And I can't say I noticed much of a difference. It did jump the hook multiple times. We'll have to see if it jumps the hook multiple times when I'm spinning the other one. If it doesn't, then that might make me wonder. But I will say, it didn't jump the hook at all, like in the last half, just in the first half. So I don't know. That's going to be hard. Now, unfortunately, I can't spin them both back to back because I only have 3 bobbins, and one of them has the wool on it. So we're going to apply this real quick, and then we're going to spin the other one. I think that's just how it has to go. Also, in dark fantasy, not to mention post-APO stuff, because of the scarcity, fibercraft should be central. Yeah. Oh, apocalypse. Yeah. I know, right? Like, it's just, people just leave it out. Presumably because they don't know anything about it and they don't think about it. But it's like, there's so much to get into there, and I want them to. A bit off topic, but you don't understand how shred for wounds worked. I have no idea where to find that. What do you mean shred for wounds? I think I need a little bit more clarification. This one is, no. The last one was clockwise, which is wool-wise. Oh, wait. No, I'm still on the first one. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, this one is wool-wise / clockwise, and we're going to apply it counterclockwise, which is how I apply my wool. So yes. Yes, indeed. Where the fuck did the end go? Okay, I found it. Crisis averted. Just getting the starting chain going real quick. Might not be the right word. It's, oh, okay. Shredded clean cloth. Interesting. I've never heard of that. I've always heard of, both in fantasy and in real life, of packing the wound with like some kind of plant material and maybe honey. And I know they did that in the Middle Ages in Europe. Specifically Britain, I know, but probably elsewhere in Europe. But I've never heard of using shredded cloth. That's interesting. Is that a French thing specifically, or is that just like, that's the French word for it? Oh, ripping up cloth for bandages. Okay, okay. That makes sense. I guess the way that I always pictured it was they were like ripping long strips off and then tying it around the wound to stop stuff from getting in and apply pressure to help stop the bleeding. That's what I've been picturing this whole time. I don't know if that's correct. That's how I understood it. Probably should learn more first aid. Shouldn't we all? Like, truly. I found out, it's interesting that you mentioned plantain. I don't know what you mean in that context, but I found out that there's ribwort plantain everywhere where I live, which is a type of plant that is very good for uh, putting on wounds traditionally. It promotes healing and is somewhat antibacterial. And it's like everywhere. It's a weed here. I love seeing it. Every time I see it, I'm like, my friend ribwort plantain. I wonder if you also mean ribwort plantain. I don't know. Oh, plantain like the long leaf plant, not like the banana. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about too. Sick. There's a brief mention of it in Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and you got, wait, I need details. Yeah, the long leaf plant, the leaves are good for first aid and hiking, I was told. Yeah, same. Same. I love that plant. It's so distinctive. It's like it's easy to recognize, and then that makes me feel good about myself. You know? This is kinking up like crazy. I don't know if I overspun it or not. It's quite possible I overspun it. The other ones haven't kinked up like this. I really, really wish that I had another bobbin, because I feel like if I did, I would have sort of an easier time testing this. But I don't. So we're just gonna suffer through. That's fine. Okay. Look, too much. There we go. My dad was an herbalist, and so he was always like teaching us about random plants around. But I don't think ribwort plantain grew where I grew up. At least I don't think I've seen it before where I grew up. So I didn't know about that one until I moved where I currently live. Stop squeaking, bro. Come on. We're past the squeaking. We're not past the squeaking. Okay. So now I'm just having real troubles that are unrelated, completely unrelated. I think. I'm fairly sure. Like, why would this be the direction of the fiber causing all these problems, right? I might have to do this test a couple of times to actually get conclusive results. I'm realizing I didn't think that would be the case, but maybe. It's angry. Yeah. You honestly know very little about wild plants. You wish you knew more. It's very rewarding to learn, I feel like, especially if you learn about the plants in your local area. Because then anytime you go on a walk or just are out where there are plants, you can recognize them. And honestly, the biggest draw for me, and the main reason I know about the plants that I do, is a lot of them are dye materials, and you won't know that until you investigate them and read about them and potentially try. If you don't find any info on whether or not it's a dye material, you kind of have to try it yourself or guess. I mean, like, I've never seen anything saying that ribwort plantain is a dye material, and I'm guessing if it is, you probably just get a light yellow, because that is typical of green plants like that. And you can get a light yellow from a lot of things, so I'm not super bothered about trying it out. But like buckthorn berries, for example, if I didn't know what they were, I would never have known they were a dye material, and I would never have used them. That is why I like knowing about wild plants. It might be if the fiber has some inherent twist, maybe. I know, that's what's that's what's eating at me. I can't tell which is which. And I'm a little bit, not worried is the wrong word, but I kind of have a feeling that it would be hard to tell. Like if I have an easy time with the other one, it'll be hard to tell if I've just gotten all of this crap out of my system and then finally able to spin correctly, or if it's inherently easier and more, more controllable. That's the problem. If there's not really going to be a way to know, because I myself am, of course, also part of the equation, and I cannot control for myself. That's always the issue with these dang tests, every time. My own inconsistency is what gets me. Load is invasive here, but that's all you know. Well, that's awesome. You can pick as much as you want and use tons of it. It's great when there's invasive dye materials because you can like just rip them all out. You actually should not be leaving any. You can get a huge harvest. I love doing that. Okay. What do we think? How many yards? I'm gonna wind it off onto the nitty-naughty, and we'll see. But Zortra, I assume you already magically know how many yards, given the last two. You're a big city person, you know a handful of plants, but not much. Oh, about that, you checked if iNaturalist knew of buckthorn in your area, and there is. You'll check on it. Awesome. Sweet. I will say, the earlier in the season you get the berries, the better they are for color. So if the berries are ripe, pick them immediately, basically. That's my one piece of advice with buckthorn berries. Okay, Ciarl says 10. That's solid. I'm gonna have to wait until I actually put it on the nitty naughty. And Ciarl, you are welcome to change your guess if you think it's a different number on the nitty naughty. But I can't estimate on the bobbin at all. I'm not gonna lie. I can never ever estimate on the bobbin, even remotely. Searcher thinks 8. All right, I'll show it to you once it's on the nitty naughty, and we'll see if you guys are just good. You're not sure how to recognize woad. It seems to look like a lot of different plants. Long stems, leaves, and yellow flowers. Yeah. I mean, woad doesn't grow here, and I have no idea how to recognize it, so I can't help you with that one. But I found that the main thing that helps me identify plants is look for something that you'll remember about it. So for example, I had a really hard time recognizing mountain ash, which is a tree, because there's a lot of really similar shrubs, and a lot of the mountain ash trees here are kind of stunted. So I had a really hard time with that. And then I sort of focused in on the color of the berries, and there does not seem to be any other shrubs with that exact like rusty orange shade. And so that is how I recognize it. So if you can find something just as a landmark, that might help a lot. Okay, here's what it looks like. I'm going to guess 7. And I haven't counted it, by the way. It's just fun. It's fine if you're wrong. Oh, yeah, of course. 9. So right in the middle of you two. And once again, I'm the most off. That's really funny. I'm the only one who can actually see how many strands there are, and it literally doesn't help me at all. But it looks to me like I either over twisted it severely, because look at that. None of the other ones have been like that. They've all had like 4 twists, if that. So I either over twisted it severely, which I don't think is true, or it will do this if you twist it in this direction. I don't know which. I really don't know which. So we're going to put this aside. We're going to spin the other one and hope that we can make it an adequate test. Because if not, and frankly, I might have to do this anyway, but if not, I will need to repeat this test. Because I really want to know. Now, I might not need to repeat it on my wheel, but I kind of don't want to... I don't want to start the blanket project before I know. Because if I can spin it wool-wise, I'd like to. Like, why not, right? It's easier to remember. I know, it has a lot of energy. I don't think I put in a ton more. I didn't feel like it anyway. It felt like I was putting in the normal amount. I'm really, really curious what the other scheme is going to look like. Super curious. If it looks identical, I'll probably cheer. I'll be very happy. I'm rooting for Cotton to not care which way it's spun. I mean, whatever the truth is, that is what it is. But if I could pick which one it would be, I would want it to not care either way. I don't know why, but that's just what I want. Just pre-drafting the leader again. I need to figure out how to pre-draft this thinner. When I don't have any tension on it, I find it really hard to get it thin, and then it ends up being thicker than my yarn, and so there's sort of like a waste slubby part at the beginning, which doesn't hugely matter, but it's like that's just going to be sewn in, so it's sort of doubly a waste. It's thick yarn and it's going to be sewn in. So I'm using up even more fiber than I normally would. I know I have 2 pounds of this stuff, but nonetheless, I'm poor, and this is how I think about everything. So, okay, I think I'm getting it actually. You have to hold it differently than wool, of course. The main thing is it needs more contact points. Wool, you can just have one contact point. It's fine. So like your thumb and forefinger. Hang on. Never know where the camera is. Your thumb and forefinger, I would count as one contact point, and that's fine for wool. But with cotton, it needs multiple. So multiple fingers holding it and holding the stuff behind it too. I assume it's because the staple length is so short, is my guess. Yeah, it doesn't really work if you just have one contact point. That's interesting. It's one of those things where like, well, that makes sense, but I wouldn't have thought about it until it happened, But yeah, if you just have one contact point, it kind of starts to fall apart. It's not really intuitive. Isn't most commercial cotton yarn spun like wool? That's a good question. Let me take a look. I don't know. Okay. So this is S. It's S plied. Is that, what is that? Oh, good night, Sierra. Or not Sierra. Good night, Zertra. Thanks for hanging out. It's quite fun. Have a good night. And I'm sure we'll catch you next time. Or again, anyway. So have a good one. Yeah, is wool plied S? I'm not the person to answer that question. I'm never gonna, like, if I get it right, it's just because it's literally a 50-50 shot. So I don't know. That's what my dishcloth cotton is. That's really the only commercial cotton I have any experience with because that's all that they sell here in terms of cotton. So I don't even know if that's standard. Wool is usually S. Okay, interesting. Now I will say, I hate commercial cotton yarn. It is so different to hand spun cotton yarn in every way. Now I assume that that's just because it's put under a lot of pressure, and has a lot higher twist than you would probably go for a hand spun. That's my guess. But I've tried kind of taking apart cotton yarn, like mill spun cotton yarn, to figure it out, and it's hard to read if I'm being honest. So I don't know. Not at all. And like also, commercial cotton yarn is often mercerized, and that's a whole process that we of course would not be doing. You don't know either. You don't like mercerized yarn. I'm glad it's not just me. I just don't like the texture. It feels wrong. So this is not something I want to be touching. I've used it for some projects, but I don't buy it on purpose. It's always an accident. All right, so this one we are spinning, for lack of a better word, Samwise, which is still very funny to me, and I think I'm just going to have to call it that forever, regardless of what the result of this is. Ooh, that's some interesting clattering. And squeaking, okay. Interesting. I mean, it was clattering because there was too much space for the flyer. The bobbin on the flyer, I think. That's why, but doesn't usually do that. Okay, let's not do the squeaking. It's so funny. My wheel is on its worst possible behavior on stream. It doesn't do this when it's just me, I swear. It's much better behaved when it's just me. Gary on is like, I don't consent to being like, well, now you tell me. Gary on is my wheel's name. I should have clarified that. I don't know why, but this one is spinning up thinner really easily. Like it's almost thinner than I am going for, and I'm not like trying at all. I'm curious if that carries over to the next pony, because they're all kind of different. They're all a little different. I was building off the principles that I learned in the last couple of streams about the best way to build a pony, but nonetheless, I don't have enough control to make them all exactly the same, even though I now know what I'm looking for. So yeah, they're all a bit different. And I tried to make it so that I wasn't like taking all the good ones or all the bad ones for the first yarn. I did like half good ones, half bad ones. And same for this one. It's behaving a lot better. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what exactly to attribute that to, but it may well be the twist that it wants to be in. Fascinating. I kind of like the clattering sound, but it'd be annoying long term. I like the clattering too, and it tends to come and go when I'm having the too much space issue. I can reintroduce it very easily, actually. That's one of the few noises where I know exactly what's causing it. And it's basically the mother of all, which is, hang on. Mother of all is this piece right here, and also these guys. And these guys rotate because they're basically just sticks that have been put into a hole that's drilled into the mother of all. And also, although you can't see it from the angle the wheel is usually at, there's this leather strap that is attached to the stick that's attached to the mother of all. So because this rotates, I can create a lot more room on here, or I can make it quite tight. And if there's a lot of room, it makes that clattering noise. Sometimes I will introduce it on purpose when it's just me spinning, because I do enjoy it. And I didn't actually end it on purpose. It'll fix itself, and then it might go back out again. I don't necessarily know why it does that randomly. I'm guessing it's one of those, like I bumped the wheel a little. But come on, man. Like I hate the squeaking. I hate the loud clattering. But I don't hate the quiet flyer clatter. But that said, on stream, I probably wouldn't put it there unless there was huge consensus of people saying they liked it. Because otherwise, that'd be really annoying. I feel like if you were one of the people who didn't like it, like that kind of renders it unlistenable and unwatchable because there's not much to watch. So. But I do try and just keep it to the basic spinning wheel noises if I can. Those, I think, are pretty universally appreciated. They're very wooden and sort of low key, which I quite like. Interesting, you haven't ever spun on that kind of wheel. You've used one of the ones where the wheel is right in front of you. Oh yeah, like a castle wheel? Nice. I've never gotten to use one of those. And I've always been really curious because they look cool. But this is the only this is the only wheel I've ever used other than my e-spinner. I've never ever used another wheel. There's not an abundance of spinners in my wheel. I have friends who have spinning wheels, or e-spinners, but I've never used them. You think it would be hard to hear me talk with the clattering? Yeah, that's probably true. Especially because that is going to be way closer to the mic than my head is. So that makes sense. So this second one, also cooperating a whole of a lot more. And I don't think it's the prep because this is the messiest one I did. So it is possible that the other one sucked super bad. That's me. It didn't suck super bad. It was definitely worse, is what it was. But it's possible that the reason it was definitely worse was just, the first time you do something, it kind of sucks. But it also could be actually because it doesn't like being spun rule-wise. It likes being spun sand-wise. I don't know. You need one with 2 treadles so you can switch feet. You can't treadle without switching every few minutes. That's actually why I got a 1 treadle one, is because I need to switch feet all the time. And so that's why I'm constantly readjusting myself and my chair and the wheel, is because I'm switching feet every 5 or 10 minutes. I specifically didn't get one of the double treadle ones because I was like, there's no way both of my feet would be okay. Really, it's my knees. There's no way they'd both work for a long period of time. But that said, I mean, I can imagine that if the problem is a different thing than what my problem is, it may well have a different solution. But it's interesting that trying to fix the same problem, we came to opposite conclusions. And I mean, I don't know if this is actually better for me, even because I've never tried a double treadle. I've only ever tried a single treadle. I don't know. Mostly you just use the Nano. That is fair. I think because I got the treadle wheel, I got that first. And then a couple years later, I got the Nano. And because it was just so clearly inferior, or at least that's how I feel. Not an objective truth, but that is how I feel. Because of that, I just never really liked the Nano. I've used it. I've spun some pretty big projects on it. But it's not my go-to. I pretty much only pick it up if I'm really not doing well and also really want to spin. Part of it is just the lack of control with the Nano, because the dial is where it is. I find it so hard to use because I sort of, when I'm troubling, I'll slow down without even really thinking about it so that I can work on a difficult section or whatever. But you can't do that at all with the EEW Nano. I know some of the more expensive wheels, or you could probably just add this to any wheel, but some of the more expensive wheels come with pedals, and so you can press on that. Or even just getting a dial that's closer to me that I can actually use would be huge. But since I don't have that, I find it to just be really difficult to stay consistent and actually have the characteristics of what I want. I don't know if that would go away with time or not, or if it really would only go away with better equipment. It hasn't gone away yet, and I've spun probably a couple thousand yards. So I don't know. Just find it easier when one is designed for each foot. Oh, you can use them as a single treadle wheel. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That changes things. I can see how that would be easier, because then you wouldn't have to move around like I'm doing. You could just sit in one spot and then just pick a foot. I wonder if you need more or less leverage, like if you need to press harder or if you press the same amount. I'm under the impression, although I don't know for sure, but I'm under the impression that most double treadle wheels are also double drive, whereas this I think is single drive. And I think most single treadles are single drive. Now that I say it, I'm like, you know what? I don't know anything about this. I actually have no idea. Never mind. The whole drive thing and the tensioning is one of the bits of spinning wheels that I never did figure out. I got it to work on my wheel, and I'm like, okay, that's all I need. Moving on. The joints in your legs and your hips are just too bad. Treadling is so difficult for me. That's very fair. It's pretty difficult for me too at this point. I'm pushing through an awful lot of pain to do it because I want to, but I shouldn't be. But I am. I certainly don't recommend it though. You assume you'd have to push a little harder because there's a little extra weight from the extra footment. That makes sense. That's not too bad though. You don't think that's true? Yeah, you're probably right. If you know anything at all about drives, then you know more than I do, so you are probably right. I do remember like listening to multiple explanations on it, but it was when I had just gotten my wheel and didn't really understand the parts of it or how it worked. And really, I was just trying to set the damn thing up. I didn't actually care about what it was, so it really did not do me very much. Except I was set up my wheel. To be fair, I do know that. That's all I know. You know, I will say we've done this in pretty good time. Even with the whole like switching off thing, we should be done under 2 hours with 8 minutes. And that other one was what, 9 yards? So this one is also 9 yards. Then we've got 18 yards, which is one of the higher counts that I've gotten. 18 yards and 2 hours. It's not bad. And of course, about half of that, I think, was not half, about half an hour of that, I think, was the wool warm up. This is cooperating so much easier. Like, it's like night and day. And I still can't rule out human error on that first one. I really can't. Because I'm so sleep deprived that the rate of errors, like the rate at which I've been producing errors today is astounding. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if I just like really messed that one up and wasn't spinning well. But I think it has a preference. I think it wants to be spun fan-wise. Yeah, I did 8 poonies instead of 6. 8 total, so 4 on each bobbin. So yeah, that's true. A little bit more than usual, and still in a decent amount of time. Of course, that said, even though I did 8, it's not stretching that far. Because usually I just do 6 total, and I get about 18 yards, 15 to 18 yards. And I'm trying to spin it thinner and everything. I don't know. It's like, I feel like I can estimate the yardage and sort of control the yardage a lot easier with wool. So I guess there must just be something different enough with cotton that it is not. It must be a learned skill. I have to learn it again for cotton. I don't know. Like, absolutely nothing about cotton works the way that wool does. If I had known that, I probably would have been a little more intimidated. But of course, that said, you can figure it out just as easily as you can figure out wool. They're both just fibers. They both have their own unique challenges. I do think, like, it's probably true that wool is easier for a beginner, but so many people have learned on cotton. Not necessarily in the Western world, but lots of other parts of the world. Very true. One last Funi. I could have put less on the cards. Well, I was picking them randomly. Or not randomly, but like I didn't pick the first four to spin that first skein. I was sort of like alternating a little bit because I was alternating making good and bad ones. And so I sort of did like the first one, the third one, the fifth one, and the sixth one. And I was intentionally picking ones that looked lumpy and then intentionally picking ones that looked nice. So I think that is one of the few things that hopefully doesn't affect it. I think I controlled for that one somewhat. That's the only thing I controlled for, really. Like, I didn't control for speed because I don't know how to do that. I guess I could have counted, but I can't exactly do that while spinning. I think they're just so different. It's hard to switch once you've learned one of them. Yeah, that's exactly what I think too. I think I'm at a disadvantage here because I have all of these expectations and skills with wool doing basically the same thing. But then you switch to cotton and none of that works anymore. And so it's like I have to, one, learn to stop doing that, and then two, learn how to actually do it the right way. It's the same thing with linen, and kind of the same thing with silk to an extent. And I've found each time I learn a new one, it is just like learning spinning all over again. But the good news is, at least for me, once I get it, I got it. You know, it's like riding a bike. Like I can pick up flax again. And you know, maybe the first little bit will be trash, but I'll get back to where I was at pretty quickly, even though I haven't spun flax in a while. Hopefully that'll be the same thing with cotton as well. But like it's definitely true with wool too. I've taken year-long hiatuses once, I think just once, and I came back to wool and it was like, oh, I still know how to do this, no problem, which was a relief, a huge relief. To wool and it was like, oh, I still know how to do this, no problem, which was a relief, a huge relief. I was worried that I would have to relearn again, and I was like, oh my god, please. No, it was so bad the first time. On the other hand, I think maybe it's not as huge of a disadvantage as I'm thinking, because having learned wool already, I know it is possible for me to learn how to spin this stuff. Like if I could learn wool, then I must be able to learn this too. And so that sort of gives a lot of confidence. Yeah, this one is definitely behaving an awful lot better. It hasn't jumped the hook once. I do think I'm trebling slower. And it's not intentional. I just keep noticing, like, I felt like I was going at a breakneck speed for the other one, and this one I'm not. And that obviously is not ideal. I think it might be something I would need to do on my supported spindles, because I tend to put the same amount of twist into everything on those. At least there's that. This is not too difficult. Getting it to, I think I'm getting it to a thickness where it will be worsted once it's dried, I hope. I think I have. It's kind of hard to tell because I'm sort of looking over and comparing it to the mill spun stuff. But the mill spun stuff is a 4-ply, and this is a 3-ply. And I don't at all remember what a 3-ply for worsted weights would look like. And I imagine it's somewhat different with cotton anyway. Cotton does just behave differently. So, yeah, I'm hoping we'll get a worsted, but if we got like a DK or something, I wouldn't be shocked. But I don't think we should get a bulky at least. So there's that. I'm having a lot of take-up issues. Unconnected, I think, to all the cotton spinning that I'm doing. I don't really know why, but like it's just sort of. Actually, maybe it isn't unconnected. The issue that I'm having is that I have to constantly readjust it. And wool, I believe, is a little heavier. I mean, no, cotton is a little heavier than wool. So maybe it's like it's filling up faster in terms of the amount of weight that it can hold. Because at least with this particular spinning wheel, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case for pretty much all spinning tools, but the threshold is more about weight than size when it comes to things like this. And same as flax. I was always sort of hitting the weight limit before I was even, close to finishing off the bobbin. I don't know what it is this time. I also, I'm having it today. I don't know if I've had it in the past. Like in the last, week or so of cotton spinning. So I don't know. You never know what to do with bulky yarn. That's fair. I don't tend to make a lot of it because it's hard. I'm a thread spinner at this point. Like that's what's natural to me, But I also don't know what to do with thread. But in this case, my linen blanket is bulky weight, and that's a nice blanket. I like that blanket a lot. That's sort of what I was modeling off of. But I don't think I want a bulky yarn. The more I think about it, I'm like, I don't think I do. It's going to depend on how this swatch turns out, though, I think. Or not swatch, really. It's a washcloth. Has a purpose. Okay. It could be the changing seasons, too. Those wood-on-wood pegs could be shrinking at a different rate. Oh, that's true. It did suddenly it's like 80 degrees outside right now. Whereas recently, it's been more like 60 Fahrenheit. My brain is too added to convert back to Celsius. Apologies. That would check out, actually. I don't know. Is there anything that can be done to mitigate that? Like, honestly, I feel like I've just dealt with it in the past, but it's kind of bothering me now. Like, it's just making it more difficult to spin. It's already pretty difficult to spin, so. All right, we're done with that. Thank goodness. Now to ply it, which is what I've been reading. If it's like black, that means I need to change it, right? Or like I need to clean it all off. The problem is I don't want to, and so therefore I won't. That's been my philosophy with cleaning this spinning wheel for the past 5 years or so. Beyond using a humidifier/dehumidifier, you don't know. That's not a bad idea, though. I mean, I don't have either of those, but for a humidifier, I could just hang up my wet laundry and let it dry over here. Oh, hi, Chuck. Hi, buddy. I might try that if this issue persists. I also wonder if maybe I'll get used to it. Maybe I'll get used to it in a day or two and I won't notice anymore. This is entirely possible. And I should once I finish flying the second one, it'll be done for the night. Well, I guess once I put it on the nitty naughty, that'll be it for the stream. Just a heads up. In part because Chuck keeps making these little noises and looking at me and being like, why aren't you in bed so we can snuggle? Once it's fully summer, it might even out. Yeah, that is true. The problem with that is where I live, the seasons are very inconsistent. And so, for example, spring, we joke that there's first false spring, second winter, second false spring, third winter, false winter, true spring, and then false summer. So like it goes on like that for a while, basically. It's very unpredictable here, and I think it always has been. It's just the climate where I live. Very odd climate. Very different from what I'm used to. Like where I grew up, it was very predictable. You went outside, even if you didn't know the date, you could probably guess around what month it was just from the weather. I imagine some of that is also global warming, of course, nonetheless. You think you're in false summer where you are? It's supposed to be 90 soon and then get cool and rainy again. Ugh, gross. I really don't enjoy those sorts of like, back and forths. Because like it feels like it takes a lot of energy to adjust. And I'm really uncomfortable the whole time because I have, I'm not good at pronouncing this word, dysautonomia. I think I said it right. And one of the major ways in which it manifests is that I cannot at all control my body temperature. And so like the back and forth is really fucking annoying. I would much rather it just be like summer and then just be on to it. That and the changing weather really hurts my joints. You just don't like the heat. Also fair. I like the heat where I grew up, which was California. It was very dry heat where I grew up. So like it might be 100 degrees outside, but it would be 0% humidity. And I found that really quite pleasant, if I'm being honest. But where I currently live, it might still be 100 degrees, but it's going to be 80% humidity, which I cannot tolerate at all. It's disgusting and I hate it. You overheat easily. You don't know if it's your meds or just me. Yeah. Meds and their unpredictable side effects also don't necessarily help the situation. For sure. I think one of my meds causes overheating, but I can't go off of it. It's really important, so I don't know. It is what it is. It's also flying better. It's just like it's behaving in every way, at least somewhat better than the one that I spun roll-wise. So, yeah. High heat and humidity is terrible. I know, right? I mean, like, just from a factual perspective on how it affects the human body, it's the worst. But also, it feels disgusting. It feels so fucking disgusting to walk outside when it's 100 degrees with 80% humidity. It's revolting. I don't like it. It's like walking into a swamp. I remember there were a couple of times, a couple of summers, where it was briefly very humid where I grew up. Hello, Chuck. And I remember turning to my sister and being like, are you seeing this shit? Like, what the fuck is happening? And then it would pass the next day and you'd be like, oh my God, thank goodness. You're also in a cold desert area. It rarely happens here. Oh, that sounds nice. I want a cold desert area. I would love to live in a cold desert, honestly. That's ideal. I don't like the rain anymore. Is one of my big things. I liked the rain when I lived in California when it never rained, because it was like, whoa, thing that never happens. But then when it happens all the time, I realized I actually really hate the rain. I don't like that I can go outside and just randomly be soaked. I don't enjoy it. Unlike for my power chair, specifically, it cannot really get wet. Like the control panel cannot get wet. So it poses all sorts of problems for me in a wheelchair as well. So I don't enjoy it for that reason. Cold desert must be where it's at. Sounds so nice. I don't know how I would describe where I grew up. It was such a varied, like it really depended based on where you were in the little valley where I grew up. Very different. I would describe it as like an arid shrubland, I think. That's probably what it was. It was sort of deserty, but there were a lot of shrubs, and it was very dry. And I enjoyed that. I would move back to California in a heartbeat if it wasn't on fire every fucking summer. I can't deal with the fire anymore. I had to leave to get away from that, among other things. But it's the fire that stops me from going back. That sounds bad. You don't know why they'd make a wheelchair that can't get wet. Well, it's easier than making a wheelchair that can get wet. And unfortunately, I don't know, my experience with durable medical equipment is that even though it's not as affected by, the enshittification of capitalism as most other industries, it's still affected. Like if it can be done easier and cheaper, they're doing it that way, even if it's worse. Like the people who design it aren't the people who use it, so they don't give a shit, unfortunately. But yeah, I agree. Having a wheelchair that can't get wet in a city that rains constantly is really miserable. I would not wish it on anyone. Unfortunately, that is my situation. But I would love to move to a cold, dry desert with my power chair. That'd be ideal. Also, it's so unaffordable now. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I didn't have to pay for my wheelchair. My insurance paid for it. Because, I never would have been able to afford it. So thank goodness for that. But I think it was like my insurance paid, oh my God, like $15,000. And it's not even a good wheelchair. It's really bad, actually. It's like a glorified car seat on wheels. It's kind of miserable. I don't know. It is what it is. I shouldn't really complain about it so much because I don't actually have a choice but to use it, so it'll just make me feel bad. All right. Flying time. You'd like one, but they won't work for you. A power chair won't? Fair enough. Like a manual wheelchair wouldn't work for me. I have to use a power chair because my shoulders are pretty destroyed. But there's nothing else that would work for me. I suppose that's my situation. Oh, the insurance won't buy it. Oh, God, that sucks. I'm sorry, but I hate that, like, access to being able to live your fucking life is put behind a paywall by insurance for so many people. I would have much better quality of life if I had a wheelchair that actually suited my needs. Like a type 3 wheelchair is what I need, with like lift controls and stuff like that. And I don't have it, and I'm definitely suffering for it because my insurance won't buy it. And I really fucking hate hearing that is also the case for others. It sucks. It's such like a pointless addition of human suffering. Like nobody needs to do that. but they did anyway. So that's nice. They'd only pay if you need it in your house. Well, I mean, mine also would only pay if I needed it in my house, so I just lied to them. I'm being honest. There's nothing morally wrong with lying to insurance. Going outside is optional, I guess. That's literally what they think, yeah. All right, yarn guessing time. Here's what we got. I feel like this one might actually be fairly easy to read, like to actually see the individual strands of. Perhaps easier than the other ones. 12, that's decent. Or like that seems reasonable rather. I'm gonna guess 13. I have no idea. I think you're probably right, so I'm guessing close to you. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, you got it perfectly. You still can't count. Yeah, me neither. It helps to be able to see it, I think. Or, well, I would imagine it helps, but I can see it better than anyone else, and I have literally lost this game every single time. So, I don't know. Yeah, you got it perfectly. It just looked like more than the last one. Yeah, I definitely spun it thinner. Like, I was able to spin it thinner. So, interestingly, this guy twists up like hell too. Like, if I hold them together. If I hold them together, can you even tell the difference? Other than the obvious fact that the twist is going in a different direction. I mean, that's how you can tell the difference, clearly. But, like, other than the fact that the twist is going in the other direction, I guess maybe this one, no, this one looks like it has a little less twist. But that's also the first one I did, and so it might have just rested. Do they feel different? Good question. Let me investigate. Chuck, what are you licking? They do, actually. The one that's spun wool-wise, a little bit rougher, and the one that's spun Samwise is softer. The one on your right looks thinner. Yeah, that's the wool-wise one, or no, that's the Samwise one. How I usually do it, and it's thinner because it was. Don't be licking that. That's so gross, bro. Come on, have standards. Yes, you have standards. Sorry. That's the one that I spun second, and it's thinner because I was going for thinner and it was complying a little more. But I think that's the only real reason. But yeah, the wool-wise one is a little bit rougher. It's not a ton, but like you can notice it. The other thing, actually, and this is maybe more important, is that the wool-wise one has a halo. Like, not a huge halo, but definitely a noticeable halo. Whereas the Samwise one has almost no halo. So that's interesting. I could imagine that it would sort of gain a halo because the fibers are sort of not aligning the way they want to, and so therefore they puff out? Question mark. I could see it. Like, I don't know if that's what it is, but it seems like a plausible explanation. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm gonna have to test this more. I can't leave it at just this because, like, they're not quite different enough to know. Sleep deprivation. I'm not a good control, so I have to do this again. This has gotten you interested enough, you might try it yourself tonight. Oh my God, please do. And if you do, please let me know what your results are. I'm very curious. Because I think, like, if we can have multiple people do it, we have a better chance at getting a conclusive result. You're not great at spinning cotton, though. Well, me neither. As I think we've seen, me neither. So no worries. Well, on that note, I usually do, which is hot water now. Like I do hot water, I give it a tiny bit of a squeeze so that it dries by the morning, but I don't like, squish it and really squeeze it. That's how I've been washing these. So I'm going to do that, and then I will knit them up tomorrow at work probably, and I will let you know if there's any obvious difference. Looking at it, the one that was spun wool-wise, it just has tons of slubs. It looks so much messier. And the one that was spun Samwise is just so neat and tidy. But that could be other things. Okay, I'm going to stop torturing myself with this. There's no way to know right now. More tests needed, but tantalizing discoveries, I think. You'll let me know if you test it too. Probably won't be able to get it washed tonight. No worries. I probably won't be able to test it until like tomorrow afternoon, to be honest, if I'm going to knit these up at work. So yeah, no worries. Curious if you do though. Would love it if you do, although no pressure, obviously. Because busting out a whole new fiber is like, I can see how that would be not ideal, but also the curiosity. Anyway, I'm gonna head to bed before I sleep deprive myself again on an actual work night. I hope you have a good night. Thanks for hanging out and discussing it with me. It's always so much more like fun to stream when I have somebody actively participating like you are. So I really appreciate it. You made it a lot more fun. Sleep well. Thank you. You as well. Good night.